town of Omagh in County Tyrone in the 1890s. Some mystery surrounds the true identity of Rambler, writer of the waggish yet informative What Now column in the Tyrone Constitution. On the 4th of September 1891, Rambler referred to Tommy, Make Room for Your Uncle, a song that had been doing the rounds in Ireland, he said, for about 15 years. This ditty, he added, which smacked of London, was quickly Iricised into the popular parody, Let Mr. Maguire Sit Down. Rambler could not have been more correct. Tommy, Make Room for Your Uncle was composed by Thomas S. Lonsdale, an English-born writer of mostly comic songs in the music hall tradition. It sounds almost incredulous, but Lonsdale wrote Tommy at the tender age of 17, when his mother told him to make room for his uncle, who was due to arrive that evening. I thought that a good idea for a song, he said, and I wrote it that morning. Lonsdale later pitched his song to London-born comedian and singer William Burnham Fair, who in 1875 sang it to thunderous applause in numerous London music halls. The chorus going as follows. Tommy, make room for your uncle, now there's a little dear. Tommy, make room for your uncle, I want him to sit here. You know your mama's got a bun and that she'll give it to you, so don't annoy, there's a good boy, make room for your uncle do. Convinced that it was on its way to becoming a monster hit, on the 12th of June 1875, William Burnham Fair placed an ad in the London and Provincial Entracta, informing readers that Tommy had been his biggest success of the season at Royal Surrey Gardens. The ad also addressed would-be plagiarists. Pirates beware. Just weeks later, two more comic singers, Fred Wallingford and Charles McCarthy, were performing the song at venues in the south-east of England, no doubt having secured permission from Messrs. Lonsdale and Fair. Tommy made its way to Ireland, being one of the many songs included in The Irish Doctor or The Dumb Lady Cured, a one-act farce performed on the 19th of April 1876 in the schoolroom attached to the local Catholic church in Borris, County Carlow. Soon after, the Lonsdale composition was being performed in Dublin music halls. Though the writer of the parody, Let Mr. Maguire Sit Down, is not known, we can say with certainty that its melody is totally different to that used in Tommy, Make Room for Your Uncle. Hardly at all surprising, given the Pirates Beware warning. Rather, the Maguire melody had its origins in an old Irish tune, a perky little march sometimes known as Bonaparte's March. Rambler recalled hearing Let Mr. Maguire Sit Down in the mid-1870s in Omagh, County Tyrone, and thankfully his What Now column included the words of the chorus. Barney, get up from the fire, and get the young man a seat. Sure 'tis Mr. Maguire come courting your sister Kate. For he has got a farm and land a few short miles from town. So get up out of that, you impertinent brat, and let Mr. Maguire sit down. Let Mr. Maguire sit down became a standard in the repertoire of the merry Hibernian Pat Mills, his delivery of the song largely praised by critics. In June 1879, shortly after Mills sang it at the Winchester Music Hall in London, a reviewer for the Era, who had clearly watched Mills's performance, had no idea that it was in any way connected to the Lonsdale composition, simply describing the Maguire song as being about an old lady and her daughter and the man who came to court her. Conversely, having just learned that Lonsdale was complaining that he had only received 2 sovereigns for Tommy, a reviewer for the Pictorial World suggested that he should have got, at the very least, 5 years' penal servitude, with 1 day's hurdy-gurdy torture in every month. The man who made Tommy the talk of the town, William Burnham Fair, died aged 59 on the 22nd of July 1909, and its composer, Thomas S. Lonsdale, died in a South Sea nursing home on the 13th of June 1928. James Joyce made a Cockney-like tongue-twisting reference to the Lonsdale ditty in his book Finnegan's Wake, spelling the title as Thomas, mark for your uncle. As for Let Mr. Maguire Sit Down, the title and lyrics went through a series of changes. In 1922, for example, it was published as Katie O'Donoghue in Flying Cloud, a book of old-time songs and ballads collected by Michael Cassius Dean, a saloon keeper and singer from Virginia, Minnesota. In this version, the Barney who was ordered to get up from the fire and give your man a seat became Paddy, and years later we are told that Paddy, later Mick, did not in fact meet the hard-to-get and well-travelled girl of his dreams in Tandragee, but in Donaghadee, later in Tarnagee, then at the Pattern of Tralee. Let Mr. Maguire Sit Down was recorded in New York in 1934 for the Regal Zono label by Irish-American baritone James J. Mullan. 2 years later, it was released under the same title by the New York-based Rex Records, the singers being the McNulty family. Back in Ireland, between 1954 and 1959, Let Mr. Maguire Sit Down was recorded by Charlie McGee, Eileen Donaghy, and Sheila Ward. It featured as Mick Maguire on the 1959 album Come Fill Up Your Glass With Us by the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem, Tom Clancy taking lead vocal, the others belting out the chorus and lilting back the melody. And so we'll end our little story about the song with back-to-back recordings of Tommy Make Room for Your Uncle and James J. Mullan singing Let Mr. Maguire Sit Down. Tommy, make room for your uncle, now there's a little dear. Tommy, make room for your uncle, I want him to sit here. You know your mama's got a bun and that she'll give it to you, so don't annoy. There's a good boy, make room for your uncle, do.
Well, me name it is Maguire, and I'll quickly tell to you of a pretty girl I admire named Katie Donahoe. She's fair, fat, and 40, and believe me when I say, every time that I go courting her, you can hear her mother say, Johnny, get up from the fire, get up and give the man a seat. Don't you see it's Mr. Maguire, and he's courting your sister Kate. Well, you know very well he owns a farm a little way out of town. Ara, get up out of that, you impotent brat, and let Mr. Maguire sit down. Well, the first time that I met her, 'twas the patron of Tralee, and I asked her very kindly if she'd dance a step with me. She wanted to know if I'd see her home and with her have some tea. Well, I no sooner got inside the door when I heard her mother say, Johnny, get up from the fire, get up and give the man a seat. Don't you see it's Mr. Maguire, and he's courting your sister Kate. Ah, you know very well he owns a farm a little way out of town. Ara, get up out of that, you impotent brat, and let Mr. Maguire sit down. Johnny, get up from the fire, get up and give the man a seat. Don't you see it's Mr. Maguire, and he's courting your sister Kate. Ah, you know very well he owns a farm a little way out of town. Ara, get up out of that, you impotent brat, and let Mr. Maguire sit down. Diddly-diddle-idle-doodle-dum, diddly-idle-um, diddly-doodle-doodle, diddly-idle-diddly-idle-um, diddly-doodle-idle-idle-um, diddly-idle-die, diddly-doodle-doodle, diddly-idle-diddly-idle-um.